Welcome, everyone. This is Jim Sporer with ISSIP, the International Society of Service Innovation Professionals. It's my pleasure today to welcome Nada Santiago, who's going to tell us about the offering, or the LinuxONE offering that helps with sustainability of enterprise strategies, and is a distinguished recognition award winner for our annual Service Excellence Award. So Nada, if you can give yourself more of an introduction and share your screen, we'd love to have you share more about this award-winning offering with the community.
Thank you very much, Jim. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. So like Jim said, my name is Nada Santiago, and I'm the product manager for LinuxONE at IBM. So today I'm here to talk to you about the latest offering that we announced back in April, the LinuxONE Rockhopper 4. This is an offering that can help customers turn their sustainability strategy into actions. So why sustainability? For those of you who are familiar with IBM products, you would have noticed that back in September of last year, we launched the LinuxONE Emperor 4. And the focus back then was sustainability as well. And the reason why we are focusing on sustainability is because it is really a really big topic right now. There's hardly a day that passes by without us hearing about some new regulation and some corporate environmental pledge. So there are more than 2,500 climate laws and policies worldwide. Most countries have climate laws right now. Most companies have corporate pledges and sustainability goals that they are trying to achieve. Obviously, some are more demanding than others, some are more heavily enforced than others. But the bottom line is that because of those laws and restrictions right now and the state that the world is in today, it is changing the way that consumers are buying. So if you look at sustainability, I would say 10 years ago, it was all about the planet. We have one planet, we want to save it, we want to make sure it's around for our children. This is still very important, except the focus is changing a little bit now to, it is the only thing we can do right now. Fuel prices are extremely high. Customers are running out of space in their data centers. There are some countries like France, for example, where they were considering shutting down power to certain regions of France to conserve electricity. There's other countries like Ireland who are threatening to shut down data centers if customers don't lower their energy consumptions. There's places like Singapore where you cannot build a data center anymore. Well, it's been revoked right now, but they had a halt for a few years where you couldn't build a data center anymore. And now it's only under specific conditions where they will allow you to build a data center. So now it is turning into a necessity. It is the only way customers can do business today. And that is by being more sustainable and looking at their energy consumption. So when we talk to CEOs and CIOs about their plans and how they plan to achieve that, they believe that technology is going to play a critical role in the sustainability journey. So how can we make a difference with green ITs? Data centers around the world are using the energy that data centers use around the world is between 200 and 250 terawatt, which if you look at what the world is using, it is almost as much as what Australia consumed in 2022. They consumed 189, so it was pretty close. So this means that companies need to find a way using technology to reduce the energy consumption, their energy consumption. And if they are looking for a low-hanging fruit, data centers are a place to start. So what if we can help customers improve the efficiency of their IT infrastructure? What if we can help them reduce their energy consumption and have a direct impact on their sustainability goal? And this is where we come in. And the reason why we focus on the reduction of energy consumption is because the greenest energy out there is the one that you don't consume. So there are a lot of companies who are doing great things in terms of sustainability and renewable energy, but the goal always has to be to reduce the energy consumption in the first place so that whatever renewable energy you use is the least amount possible. And this is where I would like to introduce the LinuxONE Rockhopper 4. And this is the system that can help our customers turn their sustainability strategy into action without having to compromise on security, on scale, on performance. Because usually when you talk about reduction, it doesn't go hand in hand with growth. Companies are growing right now. There's the use of AI is everywhere, and AI leads to a lot more data that leads to much bigger data centers. So companies are stuck in the middle. Do they look into sustainability, or do they transform and grow? And the LinuxONE Rockhopper 4 is the system that can help them do that without having to compromise. So with this system, we are focusing on three things. The first one is it is designed to reduce the energy consumption and the operational cost without compromising on everything. And I will go into details of how we do that. Second, it also delivers data protection, resiliency, and privacy at scale. This is one of the most secure systems out there. And the type of customers that are using our systems show that. We have a lot of digital assets customers who buy our systems. Those are customers who are turning their systems into literal bank vaults. So they need the security that comes with that. And then third, it delivers flexible consumption options. So whether you're on-prem or off-prem, and they're available at any scale. And I'll talk about that in a minute as well. Also, for the first time ever, we are offering a LinuxONE that either ships in an IBM rack or that can be installed in the customer supplied rack. So this is something very new for us. For those of you who are familiar with IBM products, or at least LinuxONE products, you know that usually they ship in an IBM frame with a LinuxONE door, and they get installed in a data center. Now customers can just buy 18 new of a system, put that in their rack, and they can co-locate that with their storage, their switches, anything else they want. So it fits a lot better in their data centers. This system was announced on April 4th, and it became available on May 17th. And this is how the Rockhopper 4 fits in our whole LinuxONE 4 portfolio. So like I said at the beginning, in September, we launched the Emperor 4. This is our big machine. It can go from 1 to 4 racks. It can have up to 200 Linux cores in there. It's a massive machine that can run a huge amount of workloads at a very high speed. And then adding to that with the same value prop, just servicing a different set of customers, is the Rockhopper 4. It's a slightly smaller machine. It can have up to 68 Linux cores, and it is available in 2 different models. The Rockhopper 4, the single frame, like I said, that usually ships in an IBM frame with a LinuxONE door, or it can ship in a rack mount version that customers can just install in their own rack and co-locate with anything else they had in that rack, no restrictions. One thing I also wanted to mention, that I know we are here because the Rockhopper 4 won the Distinguished Award. We also won the SEAL 2022 Business Sustainability Award back in December. And this is an external award that is given to products that were created with sustainability in mind. So this is just great recognition for us and proof that the product that we are delivering is really hitting the mark. When we talk of sustainability, it is not just greenwashing. We're not just putting a sustainability stamp on our products, but they were really designed to be sustainable, and sustainability is embedded in the architecture and in the core. Okay, so now I'm going to go into a little bit of details based on the 3 pillars that I talked about before. So the first one, like I said, was sustainability. I did mention that this system was designed for sustainability. It is embedded in the architecture. It is embedded in the design from the ground up. So, and we are able to achieve that because our architecture is optimized for that. So LinuxONE has larger caches. It has specialty offset processors that help a lot with performance. It also has on-chip accelerators like AI, encryption, and compression. It is also designed to run at the highest level of utilization. So when you compare it to an x86, for example, x86 are usually designed to run at about 40 to 50% utilization. Our customers are running our LinuxONEs between 80 and 90% utilization. This just means that they can run a lot more workloads on a lot less hardware. And I mentioned it before, because of that, because you are running so much more on a lot less hardware, our customers are saving on electricity costs, they are saving on data center space. And on top of that, they're also saving on the overall total cost of ownership of their systems. When you consolidate workloads on a single LinuxONE, you're also saving on software licenses. So instead of having 10 cores running a specific software, you can consolidate that into one core on LinuxONE. That's just an example. And so instead of paying 10 licenses, you pay for one. We also allow customers to monitor their energy consumptions at the partition level even. So if you have workloads running in a single partitions, our monitoring system will allow you to see how much this specific workload and this specific partition is consuming. So what I talked about all those savings, the consolidation. How does that work? It really depends on the data center structure, the type of systems customers are running, what type of workloads they're running on their systems. So I don't have a specific number that says, if you move from x86 to LinuxONE, you are going to save this much. We don't have that number because it really depends on how the customers are running. But what we do have is a TCO and a CO2 calculator. It's an external website. Everybody has access to that. You can go in, you can enter what your data center looks like. So you can put how many x86 servers you have, how many processors are on each one of those servers, what you're running, and it will give you the equivalent LinuxONE that you would need to replace all those x86 servers, and how much you would save on CO2, how much you would save on space, and what your total cost of ownership savings will be. We have done some internal testing, some internal benchmarking here. And for a specific workload, we saw that by moving it from x86 to Linux to a Rockhopper 4, we saw a reduction in energy consumption by 75% and data center space by 67%. The second thing on my list was the security. So security is extremely important to IBM. It always has. We are proud to have one of the safest servers out there. And the Rockhopper 4 is no exception to that. So for one, this is a quantum safe system. The reason why this is very important is because experts are saying that in the next 5 years, the bad actors will be able to break today's encryption. So what hackers are doing is they're grabbing the data today, sitting on it until quantum computers are available, and they'll be able to break the encryption. So this is why it is very important to encrypt your data and your servers with quantum safe algorithms, which is what this machine offers. It allows customers to protect their data at rest, in flight, and in the future. So it also has confidential computing that allows customers to protect the data that is in use. And we do that by limiting the amount of people who have access to the data. So in the past, if you're hosting your data in the cloud, for example, cloud administrators usually have access to everything. With confidential computing, they do not. We separate the role of the administrator from the access to the data, and only people who need access to the data have it. If you look at the breaches that have happened in the last 5 years, a lot of them happened because of an insider who shouldn't have had access to the data, but did. And with confidential computing, you can prevent that. These systems also have 8 nines of availability and resiliency. Okay, the third thing that I wanted to talk about was the flexible consumption options. So these systems can scale up and scale out because of how LinuxONE has been architected and has been engineered, and because of the very advanced partitioning and virtualization that we have. You can share the very large pool of compute that you have on the system, but still get isolation of the workloads. So this is why I had mentioned before, it allows you to run a much bigger number of workloads on a smaller footprint. Also, you add the above 90% utilization, and you end up with a highly efficient system. And like I said, so this system also, the Rockhopper 4 can go up to 68 cores. So if you have a system running, and you can bring a lot more data to that. So based on some of the internal testing that we have done, a 68 core Rockhopper 4 can do the work of 36 x86 servers or 1440 cores. So that just gives you an idea of the consolidation ratio that you can have on a Rockhopper 4. Okay, now I wanted to talk about some customer examples. So first, I'm sure you all heard of Citibank. Citibank is they have one of the largest MongoDB footprints on-prem in the world. They have thousands of MongoDB instances in multiple data centers worldwide. But they were having multiple business challenges, and their biggest one was server sprawl. They got to the point where they were running out of space in their data center because they were growing. The pandemic obviously accelerated that growth, and they got to the point where they had to build another data center. So they started looking at different alternatives. They also had very aggressive sustainability goals that they were not able to reach with that growth. So by moving their MongoDB workloads to LinuxONE, they were able to reduce their energy consumption to the point where it got them a lot closer to their goal. They were able to reduce their data center floor space to the point where they did not have to build.
Or a sample of the patient. They do some visual analytics. They take a pen and note down what they see, right? And this takes some minutes. We automated that process.
Sorry. I'm trying to mute the other speaker who joined us. Sorry.
And then
Christine, are you there? Can you mute? Sorry about that.
No, I wasn't sure if it was a question to me or not. No problem. So by moving to LinuxONE, they were able to reduce their data center space to the point where they did not have to build another data center. And on top of all of that, they saw an increase in performance by 15%. Those are numbers that Citi calculated. This is not an IBM study. Citi saw an improvement of 15%. So this is why I had said you get a lot of the advantages from a sustainability point of view without having to compromise on performance, on security, or on scale. And MongoDB is not the only workload that Citi is considering. They are looking at the rest of their workloads right now to see what they're moving next to LinuxONE. Okay. Another customer I wanted to bring up is Phoenix Systems. So Phoenix Systems was a startup. It was a small company, and they are one of the digital assets companies that I talked about. So like I said, digital asset custody platform customers have a very unique challenge. They are building bank vaults, and they need the security that matches that. So Phoenix Systems is a software and infrastructure services provider in Switzerland. They were starting a new offering for their customer, a high security cloud services offering, and they chose LinuxONE for that. So by taking advantage of confidential computing, the company was able to provide their customers with a trusted execution environment. And this means that it cannot be accessed by anybody who does not have access to the data. Even Phoenix Systems cloud administrators themselves did not have access to the customer's data. This gave the customer complete control over their own environment, and they were able to benefit from the highest level of security. Also, because Linux is Linux, there's no special IBM Linux that runs on those machines. We run the most common distributions out there. They were able to create, they had a platform that allowed them to create super secure containers in the same way that they could have created a regular container. So this made it a lot easier for their customers to get started and get going. Okay, so the last customer example that I have is Nowistil. Nowistil is a Polish company and is now Europe's third largest manufacturer of furniture solutions. So they were a very small company. Their data center fit their needs. They were running fine, but then due to growth and acquisitions, they needed to improve performance, security, and scalability of their infrastructure. For those of you who are soccer fans, the 6 out of the 7 stadiums of the 2022 World Cup in Qatar had seats that were from Nowistil. So that's how big they got. But because of that growth, they were having performance issues. So they had reports that used to take 187 minutes that now take 60 minutes. They had reports that used to take 62 minutes that now take 16 minutes. They were able to really, their performance really increased. And so they saw improvements of 68%, 74%, and 78%. So an additional benefit that they saw also is that they were able to shrink the physical footprint of their IT. They were able to save on data center space as well. And this is all I had to discuss today. If you want to learn more, like I said, we launched this machine on April 4th. On April 17th, we had a virtual launch event that you can watch as a replay at the link here. We talk about the advantages of the Rockhopper 4. There's an interview with the CEO of Phoenix Systems where he talks about how his company is using LinuxONE and what their plans are for the future. There's also some panel discussions with customers and partners as well. And this is it.
Thank you, Nada. I do have a couple of quick questions if I can.
Sure.
Just for people who may not understand the relationship of mainframes to Intel processors to power processors, could you give us a little bit of explanation about LinuxONE? Is it a mainframe IBM Z, or how does it relate to some of these other processor types?
Of course. So one of IBM's biggest product is IBM Z, like you mentioned. This is the mainframe. Mainframes are known from being extremely resilient, extremely secure. The Z comes from zero downtime. So when you compare it with any of the other servers out there, the resiliency and the uptime is really what sets us apart on top, and performance on top of that. So LinuxONE is based on IBM Z architecture. So it does have all the advantages that you get from an A-frame. It has the performance. I talked about the larger caches, the accelerators that are on the chip. It has the resiliency, the security, all the advantages that you get from an mainframe, you get from a LinuxONE. But you get that in an open source environment. So the code that runs on LinuxONE is open source codes. You can run RHEL, you can run Ubuntu, you can run SUSE, OpenShift. All of these, the main Linux distributors that are out there run on LinuxONE. And that's what makes it very special. You get all the advantages of a mainframe, but on the other hand, you also have all the open source development that is really picking up right now. the main market that we go after is the distributed market, like you mentioned, Jim. So the x86 servers, and this is usually their Intel processors. So a lot of the comparisons that you will see that I made, the 67% in space, is we are comparing against Intel processors. This is the market that we mainly go after.
Great. And on your point about sustainability, you talked about different countries requiring different sustainability laws to make sure that the data centers that are new data centers that are being built are operating at peak efficiency from a sustainability perspective. Is that, you gave some specific examples, but is that also in the US? Does the US have any data center laws like that you know of?
They do. They're not, like I said, some countries enforce them a little more. So I think Europe might be a little ahead when it comes to enforcing the laws. Unfortunately, the war in Ukraine kind of put an additional strain to prices in Europe. So they had to do a little more. But what we are seeing in the US though is a lot of companies are taking it upon themselves to set those own goals. Like Citi has a net zero emission by 2030. There are a lot of companies out there who have set extremely aggressive goals for themselves. It is not as enforced by the government as it is in other geographies, but it is still here.
Got it. And you also mentioned the security, and you mentioned quantum safe encryption. For people, I mean, I think people understand quantum computers are a different type of computer that may be able to attack cryptography. But I'm just wondering, could you say, is there a little bit more you could say about quantum safe encryption so people can understand that a little better?
Sure. So I'm not the expert, but I can explain it like it was explained to me, like you would explain it to a 5-year-old. Is regular encryption today uses specific keys, where with today's computers, it would take, I don't know, 30 years to break maybe, or something. So if somebody's trying to guess your credit card number or it would take, with today's computers, it would take a certain amount of years. That was so big that we would consider ourselves safe. Quantum computers are computers that are just a lot faster, and they can do a lot more with a lot less time. So trying to break today's encryption would take 3 months versus 30 years. Again, I'm making up the numbers, but you would be able to break the encryption that we are using today in a lot less time. Because, I mean, what you do is you just have to try to do computations, and it just does them so much faster that they would be able to break today's computation. So when you encrypt something with quantum safe algorithms, instead of using, again, like a 16 bits, you're using 5 times the size of that. So it would take you a much more powerful computer and 50 years to be able to break those new encryption, those new passwords and encryptions, I guess.
Thank you. And just one last question. I think we have time for one more. Generative AI is all the rage today, and you've got both the training cost of generative AI as well as the runtime cost of generative AI. Do you know of any studies with LinuxONE and these new processors on generative AI that you could tell us about?
So I do not have numbers, but this system does have the Telum chip, which is the chip that has the AI accelerator on it. So like you said, there is a cost to generative AI. Obviously, your workloads have to be big enough, I guess, for that to make sense. We do have, I mean, maybe this is another topic that you can have in the future, but there are a lot of great customer examples that are using AI for their chatbots. For example, we're using AI on Linux for imaging. It's a healthcare company that AI is helping analyze the MRI images. There are a lot of customer examples that are using AI on LinuxONE. I unfortunately don't have any of them with me right now, but this could be a topic by itself.
Very good. Well, thank you so much, Nada. I want to be respectful of everybody's time. And so we'll keep it to 30 minutes. Thank you so much. I'll get this recording uploaded probably tomorrow to the YouTube, and I'll send it out to you and the others who registered so they'll have access to your slides in this recording. And thank you again so much. And congratulations for the award.
Thank you for having me. Bye.
Bye. Oh, I've got to log in to stop it, so I'll redo that. But you can drop off.
Okay,
Nada.
perfect. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.